What's up, y'all? It's Jeff Cobb, and you're listening to Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show on Social Suplex Podcast Network.
You're listening to the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show. Listener discretion is advised at all times.
Hello and thank you once again for downloading and listening to another episode of the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show, part of the Social Suplex Podcast Network, support for which is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-belt grooming. Manscaped offer precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They obsess over their technology developments to provide you the best tools for your grooming experience. My name is Clive and I'm joined by my co-host Ricky. A very good evening to you, sir.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm enjoying you twiddling your moustache at the moment.
I know, I kind of want to grow it like really out and long, but at the same time, I don't want to look like a pedo, so I'm like, nah.
Would you call that the Velveteen Dream look? Right.
Oh, we could do.
Moving swiftly on with that one. This week's guest, Ricky, do you want to take over, in fact, since you're going to be the mediator for tonight?
Yep.
Go for it.
There's this week's guest. He's not been on in a while. A good 7 or 8 months, I think.
Mm-hmm.
We present to you... I was waiting for a drum roll, but okay. I should have told you that. We good friend of the show, dear Mags, at DJ Kirkby. How are you today, Dan?
Yeah, I'm really good. Excited to be back on the Richard and Clive show. I've not been on this show for a while. Just a pity we got this absolutely dog shit topic.
Yep, you're welcome. You're very welcome. I just want to say, I know you're in charge tonight, Ricky, but these things that we've been doing recently, the fantasy pay-per-views and stuff, it's kind of half of inspired by Darren himself with the Badlands pods, where the idea was to stay away from the current product because it's just, even if you like it, can't be arsed defending it and all that stuff. It's just an excuse to sit down and have a laugh with some friends and talk about the good old days of wrestling back in the day. This might not be talking about the good old days tonight, but I'm glad that we've got some of the inspiration for what we've been doing recently on the show, so thank you for coming on.
You're more than welcome. I'm sure a letter will be in the post from my solicitors very shortly with that cease and desist.
Oh, God.
I think the good thing about tonight's show is that it is, like, and we'll get into it in a second, but it's going to still be funny. Like, we could be, like, burying the product or some of these matches, but we're doing it with a bit of comedy and just, like, you know, so it's just playful. There's no real harm behind it.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get into tonight's episode, obviously the last few weeks we've ran an NXT pay-per-view competition. Obviously we've run over 3 weeks where we had several guests on. We had Caleb, Rance, Jeremy and James, as well as myself and Clive. And we put out the competition to see who can produce the best pay-per-view, NXT pay-per-view. And unlike last time where it was just me and Clive that came to the decision and who the winner was, we done it slightly different because we felt that it was going to be too difficult, I think, to pick between the two of us. So we put it out to several other people. So what we done was, myself and Clive included, as well as the 4 guests that I named, we all picked our top 3 from all the cards produced, and we do have a winner. So it was a collaborative thing, and this is where someone would insert a drum roll, but I'll just get straight to it. The winner of the NXT competition, and we'll reach out to them privately to kind of get a T-shirt out to them, is our very own
Oh, dear.
On the Social Suplex Podcast Network, the other half of Keeping It Strong Style is Mr. Joshua Smith.
Of course it is.
Josh came in first, and Josh, I feel like you and me should share this award, because as we explained last week, Josh submitted the exact same card as mine, but obviously didn't know, and obviously the layout of the card is slightly different, but it obviously got my vote because those are my picks. But overall, like you say, the six of us, I don't want to say unanimously went with Josh, but it was close a little bit, but then ultimately I think Josh kind of ran away with it in the end. But Darren, I would say that you did make top three. I think you might have came second, maybe because second or third, Clive. I can't remember.
Oh, now if Badlands were on Social Suplex, I'd have won this T-shirt.
See,
travesty.
Conspiracy goes on.
If we do, and I don't know if we are, if we do this competition where we ask people to produce the worst pay-per-view card, I think Rich may have that, like as James said, he's got that ready to go at any moment. He can tell you that off the top of his head. So there's going to be more conspiracy theories flying about if another member of the team win the next competition.
Yeah.
So we may have to make it that no one on the network can enter.
I just want to say, and I'm not saying this because he's on the show, Darren, I had you in my top three. I thought your card was absolutely splendid. So
yeah, I think I went second. I think I put down second, if I'm honest.
Don't try and butter me up now. Listen, you've screwed me out of a T-shirt. You've done what the five nerds do. Every time I think I'm going to win, you screw me over.
Now,
you were second or third on mine.
The five nerd guys just do Vince Russo style swerves and just make up the rules at the very end.
They're brutal.
This was a committee of upstanding citizens of the wrestling Twitter. Some of them upstanding. Yep. So congratulations, Josh, and send in the tinfoil hat theories to at Ricky at gmail.com.
To be fair, Josh's card was outstanding, so congratulations, Josh.
Oh, it sounded so gritted teeth there. So we're going to move on. Ricky's currently indisposed, but we're going to move on. We're doing the worst ever pay-per-views, and we thought since that it was a case of we've had quite strict rules recently, but we're going to relax the rules a wee bit. Well, this time we will have one match, which is a world title or WWE title, one match which is a women's, and then it's a free-for-all, and we're going to go for 7 cards, so it can be IC, US, tag, special attraction, whatever you want. Just the same thing that you can't use the same wrestler more than once. Try to think if there are any other rules. I think it is just a case of you can't use the same wrestler more than once. You've got to go through WWE history and find the worst ever pay-per-view matches that you can possibly ever imagine, whether they're shite, enjoyable car crash, must-see, or just downright dreadful. As a I don't think it is a consolation, but Darren, I'd like you to go first. The floor is yours to give us your terrible pay-per-view.
Yeah, well, before I even start on my pay-per-view, I've got some bones to pick with Richard and Clive here.
Oh, Christ.
Firstly, thank you for making me sit through some terrible wrestling. As you know, I have the worst wrestling Alzheimer's in the world, and I don't like remembering shit matches, and I've had to watch too many over this last few days, so thanks for that. Second of all, the rule that you just said, that you relaxed the rule, just for context, listeners, Clive told me this after I'd already watched like 3/4 of the matches and already done my picks, so I've actually stuck to the original rules, or I've tried to stick to the original rules. So with that in mind, I'm going to go with my opening match. Or in fact, actually, first, I've got a pay-per-view name.
Excellent.
As I like to do. It's obviously, with it being the worst pay-per-view ever, it's not going to be a big four like SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, stuff like that. It's an in your house, and I've named it Smash Your Back Door In. So let's start hot. I'm going to start with an Intercontinental title match that took place at In Your House, Good Friends, Better Enemies in 1996. I'm going with Goldust versus The Ultimate Warrior. Oh. Now, I don't know if this can actually count as a wrestling match because there was very, very little wrestling in it. So what happened is Goldust comes to the ring with Terry and this dude in an Al Capone style suit who on the actual WWE website is just called Bodyguard, but it's a wrestler called Mark Hallock who actually was Mantar, if you remember that amazing character. So it takes about 10 minutes for the actual wrestling to start. We get a bit where Warrior takes Goldust's director's chair, has a bit of a sit down. Goldust gets on the mic and threatens to kiss everybody in the crowd, because like homophobia was something you should have been scared of in the 90s. Then when Goldust gets in the ring, we get a little bit of a dress up, a bit of a bit of cross-dressing where Warrior helps Goldust into his rope. He has a little do on Marlena's cigar. Smokes like 3/4 of it in one. That's a bit cheeky, to be fair. Didn't even ask for twos. He actually then burns Goldust with the cigar, hits a clothesline, which is the only wrestling move that actually happens in the match. Goldust rolls out the ring, gets counted out, and Mantar brawls with Warrior. Warrior does his steroid hulking up, usual like bullshit of clotheslines and shoulder tackle. He does something which was actually quite cool. He ended up ripping off the jacket, shirt and tie of Mantar in one go, which was absolutely amazing. And it's not even like a stunt one. You can literally see where it's like a proper shirt and jacket. Mantar goes out the ring and then the crowd cheers because we were morons in the 90s and that kind of stuff were exciting. So, yeah, I'll open the card with a clothesline of a match.
I don't know if I'm already beginning to regret this theme. See, I'd actually watched, a couple of months ago, I'd started watching some of the old In Your Houses, and it might have been the third or fourth one where Goldust fought Bam Bam Bigelow, and it was really shite. It was really boring, and Goldust took forever to... I know he had that gimmick where it was all eyes on him and they were taking their sweet time and stuff like that, but it was just turgid and not fun to watch at all. So I can imagine if it's the same era of wrestling, it's the same turgidity, and you've got Ultimate Warrior in there, that sounds dreadful. So I'm sorry, I really am sorry you had to watch that.
I think the actual next In Your House, it was Goldust taking on The Undertaker when Undertaker was challenging for the IC title, and that was just as bad, really. A bit more wrestling in it, though.
Okay.
Didn't Warrior put on his wig or something at some point in this match as well? I don't know if it was after the match or... Yeah,
I think it was afterwards.
I vividly remember him smoking a cigar.
He just takes it and you think, oh, he's just going to have a little do on it, and he literally smokes it right down to the end, and you think, in one go, that guy has got some lungs on him.
No, he must do if he just sprints to the ring. He must be gassed after like 5 yards. That's horrendous.
No, an absolute shit match. I mean, like it's not like the Warrior was a great wrestler. He was what he was. And didn't Goldust either get on the mic and start threatening to like kiss people, or did he just randomly start kissing people?
No, he got on the mic and like near the ring entrance and said, "If you don't shut up, I'll kiss every one of you, every single one of you." Yeah, this 90s wrestling was horrific.
I wonder if Jake Hager's wife was in the crowd that night. And he got his own back later on. Right, I've got a note of that one. You want to move on to your next horrendous match?
Now, I'm going to go with my women's title match next, I think. And I've got 2 picks, and one person is in both matches because she's pretty much one of the worst wrestlers that has ever graced the ring. But I'm going to go with Avery versus Tori from SummerSlam 1999.
Right.
Do you remember this match? I hope you don't, because it was horrific. Luckily, it's a women's match, so it's not very long. But it's
it was a Divas match back then.
Yeah, but if you're an AEW fan, I suppose you're used to having really short women's matches.
Ooh.
Or none.
Yeah, exactly. Now, to be fair to Avery, she actually did try her best to carry Tori to a decent match, but there's no polishing this turd. It was horrific. You had the most basic wrestling moves that you learn on your first day of wrestling school. Spears, like swings, chokes. The end actually came about 3 minutes in when Tori attempted a sunset flip. Which Avery was meant to like counter by sitting on the shoulders and getting the pin, but they botched it. So they went for it a second time, and they botched it again. So then Avery just laid down on Tori. You could see her shouting in Tori's ear, and Tim White just countered the free, even though Tori tried to kick out. So for all saving graces, thank the Lord for Tim White, to be fair. But yeah, I'm going to go with Avery versus Tori from SummerSlam 1999.
Wasn't like, I'm almost certain as well that both shoulders weren't down.
No, they weren't. None at all.
And then didn't they have like a brand panties match or something, or a pillow fight or something like a week or two later?
I think so, yeah.
Well, I mean, it was the 90s, so yeah, that was always happening right enough.
Mm-hmm.
Not a stellar match.
I thought you
my
would have
other,
said...
My other one, what I was going to put in there in place was actually Tori's debut, the one against Sable at WrestleMania 15, where she wore that. I think it was meant to be a cat suit, but it was very revealing. It was nippy in that stadium. Let's just say that. But again, she botched every move she attempted, and luckily got beat up by Nicole Bass.
When you said Ivory, I thought you were going to say Moolah, because I'm sure they had a couple of matches in 99 time, but were those maybe on TV or something like that?
I think they were on Raw.
Right. It's dreadful, because I don't really actually have much memory of Tori wrestling. I always remember her as a valet for either X-Pac or Kane, and then she kind of just disappeared after that. But if they're going to have her as a valet early doors, maybe that's because she was horrendous at wrestling. And I do remember SummerSlam 99 very well, because I think that might have been the first time I'd getting into wrestling, getting a VHS off of my friend Barry, actually, who's been on recently, the old VHS days.
And we'll be back on next week.
It will be. And,
didn't they also, sorry Clive, didn't they also have like a no DQ, no holds barred, or falls count anywhere match or something like on a Raw? I don't know if it was before or after it.
I don't remember, thank God.
He doesn't want to remember.
I don't
want to remember.
I feel like they did, in like it wasn't that putrid. Like it was, like in comparison to what you saw at SummerSlam, and obviously like brand panties match are just pathetic anyway. But I don't know if that was before or after a SummerSlam match.
Yeah, they had a hardcore match. That was 4 minutes 22 long. If you want to go and check that out.
Thank you.
A 5-minute hardcore match. What the fuck?
Yeah, that was on the 9th of June edition of Raw.
So that was before.
And it was the first ever women's hardcore match as well, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Was it? I wonder when the next one was, because if that was bad, then it probably took them
2019, probably. Just give up after that.
Probably Trish and Lita a few years later. This is getting off to a dreadful start, isn't it? Right, you want to go into your third choice for the night?
Yeah, let's mix it up now. Let's have a refresher. We'll have a tag match, I think. It would have been a tag team title match, but this was a match where Clive changed the rules, so I had more to work with.
But it was Ricky that changed them, though. Remember that? Must remember that when it comes to Christmas card writing time.
I've gone for a match from WrestleMania 5, and really I could have gone for a match from WrestleMania 4 or WrestleMania 6 because this same tag team was on all shows. I'm gone with the Bushwhackers versus the Fabulous Rougeau Brothers. So, yeah, sorry about this, kids. So this is another match with very, very little wrestling. On the way to the ring, Jesse Ventura, who is absolutely a comedy genius, he accuses the Bushwhackers of being on the juice, which probably was true, to be fair.
They were on something anyway.
So Luke and Butch storm the ring doing their arm-waving bullshit. The Rougeaus enter and get thrown into Jimmy Hart almost straight away. When the match actually starts, it's typical like heels hitting each other accidentally, ref distractions, stuff like that. And then Jesse again with another quip saying that he still hasn't seen a wrestling move yet. And to be fair, I was watching it and I'd never seen a wrestling move neither. And now I want you to actually go back and watch this match, and I'm being genuinely serious because there's a part in it where Ray Rougeau picks up Luke for a scoop slam, and honest to goodness, Luke gives Ray a hand job. He literally grabs his dick and balls and wobbles them about. It's really, I didn't notice it before, and I actually had to rewind it. And the missus were watching it with me, and she's like, "Did he just grab his dick?" I'm like, "Yeah, unfortunately." Anyway, so definitely watch me back for that. It's really weird. So the end comes when they do the battering ram on Ray, a double stomach breaker. Luke gets the pin, even though Jack's come in and broke up the pin. So again, another referee mercy decision there. And yeah, I'll go with the Bushwhackers versus the Rougeau Brothers.
Did the Bushwhackers ever have a good match?
I was going to say that. Weren't the Rougeaus decent though?
Yeah, one of them ended up being the Mountie.
It's just, I remember like their name is quite well thought of. And then Bushwhackers, literally the only wrestling I can think of them doing is the fucking arm pumping.
Yeah, they did the same at WrestleMania 6 with I'm sure is it the Body Donners? I think it's the Body Donners they put at WrestleMania 6, and it's literally the same kind of match, apart from obviously you don't give Skip a jobby.
Yeah, it's just that the comedy type entrance, as I always remember from them. Mm-hmm. It wasn't Teddy Hart the manager for
Jimmy Hart.
Jimmy, yes.
Yeah.
Why not Teddy Hart?
Teddy Hart's the kidnapper and wife beater.
Jimmy
Jimmy Hart was the Rougeau's manager. And if you've actually seen any of the Bushwhackers matches before they come to WWF, they were brutal. They were absolute animals. I think they were called the sheep herders. And it's only when they came to the WWF and Vince knew he could like sell like toys and like get kids to watch that they changed them up to like this kid-friendly idiots.
If we think about it, the Bushwhackers sort of epitomise that wrestling, at least back in the day, was just for kids, because if they were about just now, the IWC would rip them to absolute shreds. They wouldn't last at all. And back then, they were so over. I remember the toys very well. I remember their faces on posters and video shops. But if they're going about and there's manhandling and stuff going on, that's not on in today's age.
Like they're probably like I said, what you just remember from them is just that stupid entrance and the fact that it was just shitty comedy. Like, I'll admit, like I liked them, like back then.
Yeah, they appeal to kids. Definitely appeal to
definitely. Kids. Now, but as you say, when you look at it, you say, "Fuck."
You look at those early WrestleManias, and they look like house shows. The matches that are on, apart from like the big the title matches, they could be absolutely anyone in them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one of the matches, it's like I don't want to say it's not an all-time great, but it's like an all-time kind of great WrestleMania moment, etc. Hogan and Andre, shit, like just absolute shit. But we remember it because it was the first time Andre's ever been slammed, which obviously is bullshit. And you know it was Hogan, etc. But the actual match quality was just appalling.
And that was right after the Steamboat Savage match, wasn't it? On the card that
not
night?
Too many. If you're following that, you know, not too many matches are going to do too well.
I'm pretty sure that's one that Meltzer gave minus 1,000 stars or something like that.
Probably, and rightfully so.
Fuck Hogan.
Oh, indeed.
Right, Mr. Mediator. Sorry I took over.
You just continue. It's fine.
Okay, Mr. Kirkby. Time for the mid-show.
Now, at the midpoint of the card, I'm tempted to put a title match in. I think I'm going to go with a WWF title match. Because
on these pay-per-views, match order is so important.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of the poor fans that have to watch this bullshit.
You've got to
pay for it.
I know.
Yeah, exactly.
Lock the doors.
So I've got 2 WWF title matches. Now, I could easily try and butter up the electorate and include one with Ricky's favourite in. Or I could go for the actual one that's probably the worst match.
You do whatever you're allowed to. You don't need to butter us up. We should be buttering you up, so you do what you want to do.
I'm going to go with the worst match then. I'm going to go with SummerSlam 1995, King Mabel versus Diesel.
Why did you...
Well, out of curiosity, what was the other match?
The other match was WrestleMania 9, Hogan versus Yokozuna.
That would have been a good shoot.
Coming straight off the back of Brett versus Yokozuna.
Yep.
So you're probably glad I didn't pick that one, to be fair.
Fucking Hogan.
Remind you of terrible times.
Fucking piece of shit, Hogan. Imagine doing that to the greatest wrestler ever.
Well, we've not got a Bret Hart fan on with us tonight, Ricky, so you're not going to get much...
No, I like Bret Hart. I just know that Ricky loves Bret Hart.
And you love winding him up.
I mean, it's like... I know we're going off topic, right? But just imagine the calibre and type of matches Bret Hart would have in wrestlers nowadays.
Yep.
I know.
Like, could you honestly imagine, like,
3-star matches?
Bret in the ring with who?
Cody. Bret v. Cody.
Anyone.
And he would do the job as well.
Bret and Omega, Okada.
Bret and Okada would be very good.
Really, yeah, it would be.
Braun Strowman.
You know, match I would love to see. Bret Hart versus Zack Sabre.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be good.
Or versus Baron Corbin.
Oh, of course. 40 headlocks.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry, on you go.
So we're going with King Mabel at this time versus Diesel. This match actually only went on 9 minutes and 10 seconds, but watching it felt like an hour. It was horrific. So on one side you've got this big guy pushed to the moon with very basic wrestling skills and a huge ego, and then on the other side you've got a big guy pushed to the moon with very basic wrestling skills and a huge belly.
Nice setup there.
It's the only fun thing about this match, the fact I could make a joke about it.
Mm-hmm.
So in the build-up, obviously, Mabel had won the King of Ring. I don't think it's even arguable that he was the worst King of the Ring.
Yep.
So he started to interfere in Diesel's matches. For some reason, Bulldog actually interrupted a Vince and Diesel interview in the build-up to this match to side with Diesel, only to turn on him, which was weird. Anyway, let's get on to the match. We had Diesel as the pace setter, which, if you know a Diesel match, that's bad straight off the bat. So we get the typical kind of knock the fat guy off his feet stuff. Diesel attempts a slam, no go. The most interesting kind of move comes when Diesel shoulder barges Mabel through the ropes and actually does a no-arm pescado over the top rope, which was actually quite good for Diesel, especially now you think of his knees. Yeah, I don't think he'd even climb over the top rope now. So we get back in the ring, and then this is another match where you need to go and watch it, because there's a part where there's just a turnbuckle disappears from absolutely nowhere. I think Diesel gets thrown into the corner, and then when the camera cuts back to the turnbuckle, there's no pad there. It's really weird. Mabel hits a bossman slam, which is absolutely horrific, and then we get an infamous butt drop, which actually broke Diesel's back in real life. Then we get one of the most telegraphed referee bumps ever when Earl Hebner is meant to be distracted by Moore, but he's clearly looking at Mabel whilst he's running him and just gets shoulder barged out of the way. So with the ref out, we get Mo and Mabel attacking Diesel. Lex Luger, for some reason, comes running down to help Diesel, but before he can even help him, Diesel chins him and clotheslines him out of the ring. But then Lex comes to and still helps Diesel for some reason, even though someone's just smacking you in the jaw, we still help him out. He takes Mo out of the equation. Mabel gets a 2 count because Earl Hebner was hamming it up with the bump recovery, which I think he was probably more worried about his snardy T-shirt sales, to be fair, rather than the pin. The end comes when Diesel hits the most deadly finisher that Kevin Nash has ever had. I'm not even talking about the jackknife, because there's no way he's getting Mabel for one of them. He gets on the second rope and does a shoulder block. 3 count and we're done. And the crowd absolutely could not give a flying toss. They were the only people what were cheering were the little kids, like the pre-teen kids. All the adults were sat there, arms crossed, not giving the slightest fuck. So yeah, I'm going with King Mabel versus Diesel from 1995 SummerSlam.
I didn't know that Diesel broke his back from that.
Yeah, when Mabel sat on him, he sat too close to Diesel's arse, basically, and because of the curve of the spine, he just crushed it to the floor. Yeah, Diesel, I think he was out for a while after that. And he had problems for the rest of his career because of it.
Jesus Christ. I mean,
I think Mabel had a history of hurting a lot of folk, though.
He was very, very clumsy.
That's awful, because I still to this day don't know what they were thinking putting Mabel. Again, this was when it was more about characters than moveset, but even as a character, I didn't really get what was going on with him. And he had shit matches, and Diesel had not a great run with a couple of Sid Justice matches beforehand. Psycho Sid ones.
Mabel got involved in as well.
They weren't up to that much scratch. And then you've got Lex Luger. I was never much of a fan of Lex Luger either. That sounds really sorry. That's what that sounds. And a shoulder block to finish. Fucking hell.
It's awful. It's absolutely awful.
Not a fan of anyone that was mentioned there at all. Diesel, Lex
not
Luger.
Even Earl Hebner.
No, I can get the fascination Vince would have with Mabel, just because, if history tells you anything, he loves those big, huge guys,
monsters.
Exactly. If you look at it, there's always been someone every 4 or 5 years, whatever. It would just appear Mabel, Yoko. I know, they're just completely dark, day and night, but they're both big guys. You go then Big Show now to Braun, so he's got a history of loving these huge guys, and and Cali as well. But quite frankly, 9 times out of 10 they're always involved in absolute shit matches just because they can't go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it just goes back to the late 80s, early 90s kind of wrestling where you had a big lumbering wrestler like King Kong Bundy. He drew money with Hogan, and I think that's what Vince just kept relying on for so long that if he just got a big lumbering lump of a man to face off against like the baby faces, then it'd work. But clearly, wrestling fans were starting to smarten up, I think.
I mean, you've got to have at least a happy medium. They've got to have some wrestling skills and some character. You can't just be one extreme to the other.
Yeah, exactly. And how many characters did they try with Mabel?
I know.
And he just couldn't get over it with any of them.
Oh, Daddy V, remember that one?
Oh.
Weren't there a time when he thought it was God's gift to women as well?
Uh-huh. And did Lillian Garcia not propose to him and he said no? So she was down on her knees in front of him. That's. I hope he used some Manscaped. Let's put it that way.
I doubt he could see it to manscape it, to be fair. Maybe that's what Lillian were doing on her knees, manscaping him.
Oh, let's move on.
40% off. If you use the code Social Suplex.
That's it. And obviously, when you're using it in the Manscaped, you've got the little torch, the little light on it, so she could have been doing it in the dark if she wanted to, or in the shower.
Can we please move on?
Mm-hmm. We can. Let us go
that
for...
was disgusting visuals there.
We'll go for a bit of comedy now. Well, I think the next two matches are technically comedy. Going to go with another SummerSlam. I think this could have been literally the worst SummerSlam pay-per-view for the amount of SummerSlam matches I've got. But we'll go with SummerSlam 1993. The Royal Family versus Clowns R Us.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Bastard.
Oh.
You guys remember this match fondly then, I take it.
Yeah, do you know what else?
This
was the very first question of my quiz.
Oh, well, there's a point for Darren.
Yes, the quiz now has been reduced to 7 questions.
Well, ask it. I'll probably forget, hopefully. So, yeah, this was a multi-man... Well, not even... Well, technically they are men. The multi-person...
Oh, dear.
I've started badly with this one. It's a multi-person match. Jerry Lawler's team of the Royal Family with Queasy, Sleazy and Cheesy, and Doink's Clowns R Us team was Dink, Wink and Pink. So allegedly the rules were only the little people could fight the little people, and that neither Lawler or Doink were allowed to attack the midgets, little people. Don't know what dwarves, whatever the word is. So this match was literally just a comedy match all the way through. We had Doink attempted a crossbody, but Lawler reversed it. Lawler pinned Doink to eliminate him from the match, so it was literally just the full Lawler team versus the small clowns. So that should have actually been Lawler out of the match because he could only face Doink, but he didn't. He kept getting involved. We saw the typical monkey flips where Wink tried to flip Queasy, but Lawler blocked and helped Queasy to get the pin. Then we had Cheesy being thrown on the top of Pink. I think it was Pink by Lawler, which helped him get the pin. So then after Wink and Pink were eliminated, that meant Lawler's team won. But they all the little people turned on Jerry at the end and chased him away from the ring. And as he tried to escape, Doink returned and parred him in the face. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Royal Family versus Clowns R Us.
See, even before I found out all the stuff about Jerry Lawler, he was always someone that just turned my stomach just looking at him.
Yeah, weird.
Just an awful look in his face that he's up to no good, and it was too on the nose all the time. And then he's running about. He's got history with slagging off midgets as well, and it sounds really sorry. Another sorry effort. And I know Doink was very typecast, and he's known. What's the wrestler's name again?
Matt Bourne.
Matt Bourne. He's well respected in the wrestling circles,
if he didn't have the kind of demons that he did have, that gimmick could have gone a lot further than it did. There was so much potential in having an evil / good-faced clown, but yeah, unfortunately, he just the demons got better of him, and they ended up using about 4 or 5 different people actually in that clown gimmick to just have Doink going because it sold merchandise. But yeah, it's a shame.
I've never been a fan of Lawler. I don't know about yourself, Ricky, even just wrestling wise.
Hate him. Although I absolutely loved Dink and Doink.
Dink and Doink were great fun.
I absolutely loved it. Yeah. I mean, Jerry Lawler, I wasn't a fan of him, whether it be in the ring or his shitty commentary. For a while, his commentary was good. He played up to his heel, but yeah, just not a fan of him at all. In this match, like you say, a lot of these matches we're talking about are just typical of what was happening back in like the 90s. You know, so back then it could have been entertaining, but as you say, now when we look back on it and say we literally were just like little kids, none the wiser. Yeah, just I kind of like the pick in the sense that like it's a horrendous match.
Oh, it belongs on this card.
I would watch it just for the laughs and like being like, oh for fuck's sake, really, kind of thing. So yeah, it's another good pick. But I says, I always liked Doink the Clown.
Yeah. So moving on to number 6, the penultimate. This is I don't even know if there is a death spot on this card, but this is where
it's just the card. Just watching the card's a death card. Spot. Now, I actually messaged Clive during the week when he come up with the rule change, and I said I'm actually skirting along sticking to the rules because I've got someone who was mentioned in a previous match, but he doesn't actually wrestle. So I'm kind of like skirting that rule with this match, but I'm going with from King of the Ring 1998, Al Snow and Head versus Too Much. Now, you've got to remember, this is on the same card that we had Undertaker versus Mankind Hell in a Cell. So if there is ever a match that is definitely a turd in the punch bowl, it is this match. So the backstory is Al Snow wants back in the WWF, and Jerry Lawler has convinced him that if he can beat Too Much, which obviously is as he's Brian Christopher in the team, which is Jerry's son, he'll organise a meeting for Al. So just as we get into the ring with Al and Head, we hear that there's been a special guest referee announced, and it's Jerry Lawler himself. So that's the person who is in both matches. Now, obviously, Snow has to start because he's actually the only wrestler on his team, and he starts overwhelming Scotty Too Hottie Taylor. Now Brian gets the tag, and Lawler does everything in his power to help his son. There's a part where Brian's claiming that Al Snow pulled his hair, which he clearly didn't, but then Al Snow doesn't pull Brian Christopher's hair, and then he gets admonished for it. The fans are absolutely dead for this. They could not give a toss. So this every time Al goes for a pin, Lawler gives a crappy slow count, checking the shoulders. Al Snow at one point actually legitimately goes for the tag, which, to be fair, you've got to give him credit for that. He's playing up to the gimmick. And there's a point where Brian Christopher bats Al Snow's hand, so he can't tag in Head. So then we get another near fall with Scotty Twatty covering Al, where Lawler tries a quick count. Snow gets quite a few quick pins victories in a row, but just falls short when Lawler keeps screwing him. And just as he is about to get the win after he hits Scotty with the snowplow, Brian Christopher grabs Head. He grabs a bottle of shampoo, attaches it to the bottom of Head, and pins head to the mat, and then after Lawler did the pin, they show the shampoo to the crowd, and it's a bottle of Head and Shoulders. So, yeah, cheesy. So yeah, I've gone for King of the Ring 1998's standout match: Al Snow and Head versus Too Much.
Now, I can't actually. This is one I cannot remember, but I kind of was quite an Al Snow fan, even when he was doing nonsense stuff.
Mm-hmm. He does make the match. To be fair, Brian Christopher is literally just a young version of Jerry Lawler, such an idiot. And this Scotty 2 Hotty was the very last start of Scotty 2 Hotty's career, so he's not as good as he were when it was with Rikishi. But yeah, the match is absolute gash.
You know the worst thing about it is at times during the match, like, they stopped Al Snow from like trying to tag Head, and it's like, you do realise that is like a mannequin's fucking head. Tag the fucker in, pin it, get the win.
Yeah, but it had no shoulders, so you can't pin its shoulders to the ground.
Toss it out the ring.
I toss it into the crowd.
That's it. Just punt it. Just punt it into the fucking crowd.
Yeah, 10 count then. Yeah,
exactly. That probably pisses me off more than anything. It's like, Jesus man, just tag the fucker in and punt that bastard into the fucking crowd and get the win. You know, it's like that whole like stupidness where a heel slides out of the ring and a babyface runs around after him, then the heel slides in, and then the babyface immediately slides in after him and gets attacked. And it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
I would have popped for the Head and Shoulders stuff.
Involved in a lot of shocking matches.
Yep, you might hear from him soon. That's all I'm saying. Speaking,
Head.
I don't know. He must have been listening to this because I've seemed to have knocked my head in.
Were over with the crowd, absolutely over. The crowd. They even had if you remember the old ECW days where they had the polystyrene heads and they'd throw them in the ring. They even had them in the WWF crowd, so it was clearly over, just not in this match.
I would have popped for the Head and Shoulder stuff, to be honest with you. That would have made the whole night for me. So, are you saving the worst till last then?
Well, you've got to finish on a title match, surely to God. So, I've gone with the World Heavyweight title. Now, technically, with WWE owning the rights to WCW, I could have gone through their cards and used the finger poke of doom, or one match that I've had to watch for another podcast, the War Games 2000, which is absolutely horrific. But I thought I'd play fair and I'd stick to the rules, and I've stuck with the WWE version. But there's actually 2 matches on back-to-back pay-per-views with the same 2 wrestlers, and both matches were horrific. So from Royal Rumble 2003 and No Way Out 2003, Triple H and Scott Steiner for the World Heavyweight Championship. I'm going to actually go with the Royal Rumble match because I think that's the worst match. So this is just literally 18 minutes of chops, suplexes, rest holds, botches, the lot. So we start with Steiner attempting a recliner on Triple H, but Trips has got his manager there, Ric Flair, to pull him out of the ring. Steiner chases Flair around, but the ref interjects himself to stop Steiner from attacking Flair. Trips attempts a pedigree, but Steiner performed one of many Exploder suplexes. Attempted a military press slam, which gets counted into a net breaker. Then Trips and Flair try and leave with the belt, but then Steiner, and I want to say ran to catch him down the aisle, but he actually waddled. Literally waddled. That was the slowest run ever. He ends up catching up with him, counters a trip attack with the belt by cracking Hunter in his glorious snot box with the belt. Then, for some reason, and I don't know why Steiner kept it up, but he had to get his obligatory push-ups in. And then the best part of the match is we got to see a glorious pink thong of Steiner where his tarts were coming down. So we got he got hit with a low blow, I think, and a roll up. Trips through the ref out the ring trying to get disqualified, but Earl Hebner weren't for having it. Trips hit Steiner with the sledgehammer, which meant he actually did get disqualified that time. Steiner wins. Trips retains the title, and then afterwards he applies the weakest looking Steiner recliner on Triple H. Now, the match was horrific to watch, but in fairness, it was this match that got Trips to form Evolution. So there is a little bit of a saving grace from it. So there is that one good thing about it, but the match itself was absolutely dogger. So yeah, I'm going to go with Triple H and Scott Steiner from Royal Rumble 2003.
Ricky, your thoughts on this one?
This was like in the midst of Triple H literally burying every single wrestler on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
This was like Steiner's first big match or feud back, because he'd only been back maybe like since November or whenever Survivor Series was. So
yeah,
what, two months?
This was his first feud.
Yep. So 2 months. As bad as the match was, right? You know what the worst thing about it was? That Triple H came out first.
Oh.
Two things: championship match closes the pay-per-view, and your champion never comes out first.
Well, it's a Royal Rumble event, so.
Right. Okay. I don't mean this pay-per-view. I mean in general.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the Royal Rumble is the only time that I would make the exception. And as I say, it's like Undertaker retiring at WrestleMania. That made sense. That was fine. Obviously, never retired. But yeah, just fucking horrendous. Scott Steiner's absolutely horrific in the ring. He's cut some of the greatest promos of all time. Probably has the greatest
by
promos
accident. No, it's not like he's meant.
Oh yeah. That math one is just the greatest promo ever, probably, just because it's so stupid.
I mean, to be fair to Steiner in this, I know he was. He had drop foot, didn't he? Where he had problems with his knees and his hips. So he does have a reason why he went to the suplexes all the time. But
it's too big.
Yeah,
like,
don't throw this guy in a world title match.
No,
absolutely not.
Like back in the day, especially when it was like earlier days, like the Steiners were fucking awesome. You know, they were really fucking good. He's just too big and just jagging too much. But yeah, fucking absolute shithole of a match. Then again, you kind of been like, well, who the hell was Triple H going to face after he ran through the entire fucking roster?
Mm-hmm.
RVD, Booker T, HBK, everybody.
And then the two biggest rivals that he could have had, they put him in a faction with him.
Which turned out to be fucking awesome, right enough.
Yeah, to be fair.
I disagree with your opinions, gentlemen.
But you enjoyed the match.
I did, actually.
End the fucking podcast. Right here.
I remember because Kurt Angle and Benoit was on that pay-per-view, so I thought, I'm just going to watch that whole pay-per-view. It was within the last couple of years. And I know that there are many people that think this match is dog shit. There's something hypnotic about Scott Steiner's suplexes, and I could watch them on repeat forever. And there were many of suplexes in that match, and see, purely because of that, I liked that match.
I think it's because of the pink thong.
No, it was. If that was the case, then I would have enjoyed the Russo's Bushwhackers match for the wee handy that went on.
Seriously, go back and watch that because it's so weird. It's surreal, and the camera zooms right in on it as well.
Imagine you could get that in VR, the VR today. I've not got much to add, just the fact that I did enjoy it, so I might be the only one that's enjoyed that match ever.
Quite possibly.
So, I'm sorry, I'm just eternally sorry, Mags, that you had to go through that, to watch it and to sort of relive it, but I'll relive it for one more minute, just so the listeners know. We had for the ultimate IC title match, the first match of In Your House, Smash Your Back Door In. It was Goldust and Ultimate Warrior at In Your House, Best Friends, Better Enemies. Ivory versus Tory, SummerSlam 99. Bushwhackers versus the Rougeau. They quite literally are Bushwhackers versus the Rougeau brothers. The tag match at WrestleMania 5. King Mabel versus Diesel, SummerSlam 95. Jerry Lawler's Royal Family versus Doink's Clowns Are Us. Al Sloan versus Too Much at King of the Ring 98. And the best title match that was on this Royal Rumble 2003, Triple H versus Scott Steiner. Are you ready for mine?
Yep.
Or are you ready for mine at all? That's the question. Mine's is called Super Duper Shitdown, which is what they probably should have called half of these Saudi Arabia shows. I mean, technically I could have just said what are the Super Showdowns and then called it a night, but
That's true.
I did put quite a bit of thought into this one. And to sort of steal your theme a wee bit, Ricky, I have got a card which you would think would be quite good, some ones with angles that you'd be interested in seeing, and people would come into the show thinking it's going to be good, and then you get the comedy out the way and it starts just to get really, really bad, and you end up actually angry at the end of the show, right? So first up, the curtain jerker is from Invasion 2001, and it's referee versus referee, Nick Patrick versus Earl Hebner. Now, Invasion pay-per-view I think was very good. I think the story that was told throughout the night was good. Even the squabbles between the refs leading up to this event, it was another sort of story that they didn't have to do, but it was quite interesting that they did. But the match itself was awful. When you're talking about turkey arms flailing, Earl Hebner already had weird arms, and Nick Patrick is a detestable character just in general. I've never enjoyed him. Mick Foley was in this match as a special guest referee, and he couldn't even save it. It was just, you had all the other referees lining the ringside cheering them on like cheerleaders. Technically you could have made it a lumberjack match if you wanted to. That might have jazzed it up a wee bit, but it was nasty viewing. But I would wager that it's one of those car crash ones that it's terrible but you want to see it.
Go watch the hype video for it.
Right, okay.
So if you're not going, don't watch the match, just watch the hype video.
And if you do
Brilliant.
watch it with the Benny Hill theme tune in the background. Probably watch the match during with that theme tune as well. Your thoughts, Darren?
Yeah, that's a. I mean, I knew you were picking it because you did kind of give it away in the DMs. But yeah, what a horrific match. And it's a podium when Earl Hebner's the best wrestler in the match, because Nick Patrick was absolutely woeful. I think he attempted a baseball slide at one time, which it damn near missed.
Oh God, so he did.
Yeah, it was not a good match, and I should have put that on my card. To be fair, I'll give you that. That's a great pick.
Ricky?
Yeah, it's one of those ones you're like, what a terrible match, but I'm going to go back and watch it just for the laugh.
Mm-hmm.
Aye, it's one of those, what you do, you want to see how the hell that happened and why. So I'm quite proud of having that one on. The next one, it's the return of a certain Mr. Snow, and I'll give you one guess as to what the match is.
It's not the Bob Holly one.
No,
it's the Bossman one.
It is the Bossman one.
The Kennel from Hell match. That's a Badlands favourite.
Yes, and I know Big Boss Man is a Five Nerds Go favourite as well, but Big Boss Man...
It's a Paul Tully favourite. I don't think the rest of the nerds like him.
See, when you think about it, Big Boss Man's been technically in 2 cell matches, and they've both been horrendous.
Yeah, nearly died in one.
I know, did die in one.
Aye. we all know this. So I'm sure this has been mentioned on Badlands quite a few times now with Big Boss Man.
Multiple times.
What was the name of the dog?
Pepper. Pepper the Chihuahua.
Pepper the Chihuahua.
Ate
the dog. I'm pretty sure they wrestled at SummerSlam before this. And this is one of your Vince Russo creations where let's just fling as many bells and whistles at it as we can. A cage, Hell in a Cell, dogs lining it outside, and these Rottweilers were not for doing the job that they were supposed to, which was basically make it impossible or at least scary for Al Snow or Big Boss Man to escape. But
I'm going to watch this match.
I know the dogs were scared, running away. I'm going to give away my quiz question for next week, so I'll need to think of a new one. They were pissing.
Yep.
They were shitting.
Yep.
And they were even trying to get a bone
doggy
on.
Style.
Mm-hmm.
They were playing doggy style.
And these were Rottweilers. Tony Khan was probably in love with it. This is probably what made him like wrestling.
I'm so going to watch this match once we finish recording. It's fucking horrendous.
But see, to be fair, I'm pretty sure it might have been Bossman. But Bossman won because he had pliers and cut his way through, didn't he?
Yeah.
That's genius.
Pretty much.
That's genius booking.
Or he could have just stepped past the dogs
sleeping dog.
at it and just got out the cage.
But if he ran out, he probably would have slipped in some dog shite or something like that.
Yeah, that's it.
You know, random you are talking about how the dogs are going at it. I was Clive, up behind our houses, you know how we get the crags.
Uh-huh.
We were coming back down, me and the boys, like last week or a week, I think it was 2 weeks ago. 2 dogs in the field. The owner was trying to like separate them because they were going at it. And Ayan, my eldest, turned around and goes, "Daddy, what are they doing?" And I was like, "They're fighting. They're just fighting. They're just fighting. Don't look, please."
Don't look.
Don't look, son. Don't look.
Please
Me and
avert
mother
your
will be doing
eyes.
that later on tonight.
Oh, Jesus. I thought this was a family show.
Gran, Mum and Dad are fighting again. Right. I'm going to move on to the third one. Now, name power. I don't know if... The rest of mine are quite recent. So, Mags went for quite a lot of old ones, and that was a bad time for wrestling. It certainly was. My next ones are quite recent in that they span about 15 years, the last 15 years. One of them is actually very recent, but I'll get to that later. However, this match was 1 year after one of my favourite ever matches, which was the 2016 Men's Survivor Series match. And on paper, you would think that Samoa Joe, Triple H, Kurt Angle, Braun Strowman and Finn Balor versus Bobby Roode, Randy Orton, Shane McMahon, John Cena and Nakamura would be quite the spectacle. Well, it was a spectacle, but it was an absolute shit show from start to finish. This was at the height of my Cena hatred, where he had absolutely no right being there, and he had no interest being there as well, because I think he just turned up to show fans that he had a different colour of a new T-shirt, because everyone else was wearing this. Here I go. Everyone else was wearing their Team SmackDown or Team Raw T-shirts, and he rocked up with a purple Onslaught to the Senses, purple John Cena Never Give Up T-shirt. He was out pretty early and then just buggered off and wasn't seen again for months. So he was away before that for a few months, disappeared again. No need at all. Then you had, you've got the future here. At the time, the future, Balor, Roode, Nakamura, they left early doors. They were eliminated early doors. There was something, it's escaped me right now, but this was at the height of the whole Shane McMahon versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn thing. And Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn came down and attacked Shane, but something happened that made absolute no sense. I think they let him eliminate someone. Does anyone ring a bell with this one?
Say that part again, sorry.
Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn came down and battered Shane McMahon, but continuity-wise, something right after that did not make sense, and for the life of me, it's escaped me right now. Something really stupid, like they didn't eliminate Shane. Was basically it.
Well, Shane tried to chase him off, didn't he? And then he was the last one left.
Oh, it's just fucking dreadful. And then Kurt Angle was there. I think it was Kurt Angle, Strowman and Triple H that was left against Shane.
Yep. And then Triple H, obviously. Thingies.
Battered Kurt Angle.
Yep.
Battered Kurt Angle. Tagged himself in. Battered Kurt Angle. Took the win over Shane and sort of rubbed it in Strowman's face, even though Strowman was on his side. And to this day, there has been no revenge, or it's never been brought up again from Braun Strowman that Triple H was a bit of an arsehole during that match. Just see in contrast to the 2016 one, which was just perfect from start to finish. Personally, I hated that. Angered me, that match that night. Sorry, I'm finished now.
You sound really bitter about this.
Oh.
Yeah, it was literally just a match that over-egged the pudding. Mm-hmm. It was just so convoluted, just overbooked. Yeah, it was a horrific match.
Ricky.
And the thing about it was I kind of enjoyed some of the build.
Aye.
Like, for instance, that was obviously... I remember that when the Shield came to SmackDown and the Usos came running down to the ring and they came face-to-face with Roman, and they all just kind of like, for like a second, they just came to an abrupt stop, and I was like, oh, that's quite cool to see, actually. It was like, oh, shit, we're facing Roman, and Roman's like, shit, these are my cousins. And then Ambrose and Rollins attacked the Usos. I'm kind of going off a wee bit, but I quite like that. Yeah, Cena being in there was ridiculous because I think he put like a movie coming out or some bullshit, so hence why he never took much of a beating or was like that active during the match. And again, like, another missed opportunity with Braun Strowman.
Mm-hmm. Another one.
Like, that was probably at the time you're like, oh, that's it, just done, because you saw him just staring at Triple H, and all of a sudden Triple H tries to get in his face, and then bang, you're like, right, this will be interesting. Let's see where they go with this. Like, and
did it go anywhere?
It went fucking nowhere. I think him and Triple H came face to face the following night, and then that was it. And it's like, really, man, like, there's another opportunity you just missed. And yeah, like I say, it's just a terrible, terrible match. I mean, I'm not saying the build to the pay-per-view and stuff was like great and stuff like that, but like there was some really decent matches on this actual card. I say the Shield and New Day. You had what's their face? The Brock and AJ match was pretty good as well.
The Shield and New Day was excellent.
Yeah, like I said, so yeah, terrible to watch. And I think, like you say, certainly in recent times, that 2016 is the bar when it comes to the 5-on-5 elimination match. But yeah, this was poor. I must admit, I'm surprised this is on the card.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I think it was poor for a multiple different reasons.
This was around the time of our Social Suplex debut. It might have been our second episode on the network. And
was it?
I think so. I don't get angry often with wrestling the way you see some people on Twitter do. But I was pretty raging with this match. Just like, what is this all about?
Mm-hmm. And if you think of the talent that's in the match, it shouldn't have gone down that way. I mean, even the talent that run in, it shouldn't have gone down that way.
There's just no payoff, not even for Braun Strowman, but against Triple H with Kurt Angle, although there was actually with the whole WrestleMania thing. But that wasn't really about Triple H and Kurt Angle, that was about Stephanie and Ronda,
yeah.
Right, moving on, because I'm annoyed now. and something that's going to be a bit light-hearted, but was like gash with a capital G. It was Survivor Series 2005, back when you still had a lot of the brand supremacy stuff going on, and back then you had two very interesting but two very different general managers, and Eric Bischoff and Theodore Long. These guys had a match at Survivor Series 2005, and I don't know if you can even call it a match. It was like, see when you see old drunk people dancing, but they're basically holding each other up. That's what this was like. There was a couple of punches thrown, and I don't even know if it was selling or it was genuine. Ow, you just hurt my pancreas stuff, and they couldn't move because of it. It's as if they'd broken their backs. It was just, I mean, it was hilarious. This is one of those ones I do kind of urge you to watch, along with the Nick Patrick and El Hebner one. But it was, not good, because there was a specific bit where Teddy Long either low-blowed or gut-punched Eric Bischoff, and Eric Bischoff was like holding on to Teddy Long, who couldn't keep up, couldn't stand up anyway, because a grown man's holding on to him, dead weighting him, and they just sort of crumpled into each other, and as if they were leaning in for a cuddle.
And Bischoff was wearing his ridiculous MMA karate outfit.
His gi.
Didn't Teddy Long as well attack Bischoff with his shoe? I'm sure he took his shoe off. I think this was this not as well when Teddy Long had like an executive, and I can't remember the guy's name.
Oh, Palmer or something like that.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Oh,
but yeah,
Conan Palmer. I'm going to Google it.
Was he not in charge of the midget division or something like that?
Is it Palmer Cannon? I think
Yes.
Something like that. Or
I think it's Palmer Cannon. Yeah.
Palmer Cannon, yes.
Yeah, this was woeful.
And
Absolutely woeful.
Bischoff was wearing his gi stuff, and Teddy Long was wearing a SmackDown T-shirt and a pair of joggies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, good laugh though. Teddy Long was a right good laugh.
So it was.
Right. Next up. Oh, what's happened to my list? Right, so the one that we just had.
Sorry, not only was Teddy Long wearing a SmackDown t-shirt and a pair of joggies, it was his t-shirt was tucked into his joggies.
Aye. And I might.
I'm sure the Boogeyman got involved as well.
Oh,
Did the Boogeyman not get involved?
Uh-huh.
Jeez, that's another fucking question I need to take out. That was one of my questions. Question number 4. During the Eric Bischoff and Teddy Long match, who made a surprise appearance during the match? Get rid of that.
I should get the point for that then, surely. I've answered the question 10 minutes before.
You take the point. And I might be wrong. I'm probably just making this up for a cheap pot, but I'm pretty sure Teddy Long was wearing his glasses during the match as well.
I think it was.
Would not surprise me.
I'm going to just quickly double check some images before we go into the
I'll
next
do it.
one.
I've got them right now.
Right.
No, don't think it was actually. No, he wasn't. He might have came down wearing it, but not during the match.
He probably passed him to Palmer.
Aye.
Mm.
Right. So that was a fun match, and this one was very uncomfortable viewing. It was a few years later, 5 years later, at WrestleMania 26, the same night where we had the sequel to Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, and this was a story that was, let me think, 13 years in the making. It was Bret Hart versus Vince McMahon.
Oh.
And you ended up having Vince McMahon looking like the sympathetic character here. And I can't remember who was with Vince, if anyone. Maybe the Stooges were. But Bret Hart had his family with him. And Vince McMahon basically said that he had paid off the Hart family, the Hart dynasty, to screw Bret. And he said that as they were there, on the night, Bret Hart said, "No, we all discussed this, and they're basically just going to take your money and run. So they're on my side." And it was basically, this was around the time where Bret Hart couldn't wrestle properly. He actually had a decent showing in that Nexus match, if you remember correctly. he couldn't do much, but he did a few atomic drops and he looked much better than he did this night. But it basically just turned into a slow, plodding chair shot attack of an old 50/60-year-old man, and some of the Hart family took shots at him as well. I'm pretty sure Bruce Hart was the ref, and Bruce Hart's got a sketchy history. He's already a bit dodgy when it comes to being involved in Bret Hart matches, because he made an arse of the finish for the Canadian Stampede match. So Bruce Hart was the referee, and he joined in, and then other Hart family members joined in, and it was just what you would expect. I mean, see, for comparison, that Vince Hogan match from WrestleMania 19 was outstanding. For sports entertainment purposes, that was a great match. This was just, I don't know what they were thinking with the booking with this one.
Yeah, especially when it was clear that Hart was not capable. I think he was actually legally not even allowed to be in a match, because I remember him not like calling it a match in like the promos for it. But yeah, if you think of like McMahon who fought Austin in a cage at St. Valentine's Day Massacre, he could have easily whipped the living piss out of this Bret Hart. And I seem to remember it lasting for ages. Like, did it go like 15 minutes or something like that? It just dragged on and on. Yeah, it was not a good match. I don't understand but it was literally just so Vince could lord it over Bret. You could well tell it was just pathetic.
I think when I checked earlier it was only 12, but I remember watching that live and thinking this has went on forever and ever. And see, Vince, you mentioned Austin there. He's had really good or really enjoyable car crash matches with Austin, Triple H, Undertaker, Shawn Michaels. That's just off the top of my head. Hulk Hogan as well. But this was desperate.
That's because it wasn't Bret Hart.
Nobody won from that. Nobody was looked over or strong there. That was just dreadful.
It was to just use Bret Hart's name to sell WrestleMania, I suppose.
Probably.
And you obviously had the whole Bret screwed Bret, or who screwed Bret, Vince screwed Bret, etc. Animosity. And it was kind of like, well, he's back and we'll do something together and whatnot. We can beat the shit out of me for a little bit.
Oh, man.
Love Bret Hart.
So next up is the penultimate match, and it is a women's title match, and this is very, very recent. And I made a conscious decision not to include the Divas era stuff, because especially when it was the Divas Championship, because a lot of that was very much out with the control from the stories that we've heard, that they were only given a few minutes here and there. So I don't think it was within their capability, within their permission to have good matches if they were allowed. So I've went for a lot more of the more recent ones, and I've picked from this year's Royal Rumble, Bayley versus Lacey Evans for the SmackDown Women's title. This is one of those ones where Bayley she'd started to get a bit better at doing the heel stuff. It was a bit boring and shite at first, and then she was getting into the groove with the snarky, loud, brash bitch that she is now. And for the record, she's excellent now. I could watch her all day. But this match, it was one of those builds leading up to it where Lacey Evans, a babyface turn, surprised it pulled off as well as it did. You've got this all-American military hero, mother, homeschools, like total Americana down to the core. And it just seemed like it was the right time for it to... Not personally saying it was the right time. Like, I didn't want desperately for Lacey Evans to win, but I just felt as if it made a bit of sense for Lacey to win it. And the match that we got was just one of those incredibly boring stifle style matches where it was actually Lacey got hardly any offense in at all. I think she might have got one move, but that was literally it. And it was Rich Lata's favourite. It was just headlocks and pounding down, and there was no peaks in the match at all. It was just trough after trough, just lows all the way through, and then it was just that really bad finisher that Bayley's got just now. Like I'm not a fan of facebusters at the best of times. The bulldogs and stuff, I don't think they're hardly ever pulled off well. But the one that Bayley does is a bit of a mess, and it was just all that build for Lacey. Sometimes WWE tell you a story where it looks as if, right, this is only one outcome that you're going to get from this, and you get another one and you think, that was dreadful.
Yeah, it's swerving for the sake of swerving.
Yep.
And I think this was more kind of a thank you to Lacey rather than winning a title, because to be fair to her, she didn't do bad in the old Becky Lynch storyline that she had before this, but yeah, it was not a good match, and which is weird really, because Bayley can have a good match with pretty much anyone.
She can.
So her having a bad match really does stand out.
And
I think it just shows that Lacey just isn't there.
See, I'm not sure that at the time, Max just said there, I thought the Becky Lynch stuff was decent. It wasn't shit, but it wasn't great, but it wasn't shit either. And she did show in NXT, she had a great sort of TV rivalry with Kairi Sane, which went over a few episodes, and then it finished at you know how they record dark matches at the takeovers, but then they show them the next week. They had one of them, and it was really good. So I think Lacey's got it in her to be a decent, competent wrestler, but she just wasn't allowed to show it that night at all.
And I also think that, like you say, is like Bayley's evolved into this heel character a lot better. So at the start, it wasn't good because she's been this like classic babyface the entire time NXT and then in the main roster. So obviously she had to transition into something that she'd not done for certainly like on WWE. So it took her a bit of time to get comfortable and to understand what she can and can't do. And like I said, there's a big difference between the babyface and the heel. So like I said, where she is now in comparison to like as a character, it's night and day. So maybe that could have played a factor into it as well. But like I said, I just don't think Lacey's that great, and I wasn't a huge fan of the stuff with Becky, if I'm honest. I liked Lacey like as a talker and stuff, and just the way she comes across. I think you can make her a great babyface, but you've got to, at the end of the day, like you've got to be able to do something in the ring, and I just don't think she's anywhere near where you need her to be.
Maybe not, but she certainly wasn't allowed to show that in the Rumble. So maybe that's just recency bias.
Some matches, those kind of things that are needed. Where one person has to be sacrificed in order for the other one.
Maybe. But it's not so much like, see for instance, Lesnar and Cena. That was like that was like what was Jeff Cobb's name in Lucha Underground? Matanza Cuerto. He just destroyed folk. It just destroyed folk, and that was like necessary. But see, when it's that stifling style where it's not actually an interesting moveset and it's just ground and pound with nothing else going, doesn't make for good viewing.
No, I agree. It wasn't a great match, but I do still think that it was two factors come into it. I just don't think Lacey is that great, and I think, like I said, it was quite early on in Bayley's transition going from face to heel.
Yeah, I bet if you had that match again now, it'd be a much better match.
Yep, because Bayley's great right now.
Yeah,
from what I've seen of her.
And it took me a long time to kind of get used to heel Bayley. When she first turned heel, it was like, no, I can't take this. This is the epitome of a babyface. The hugger, the arm flailing inflatable tube men. Yeah, and it was just a weird seeing her being a heel. And yeah, I think you're right, Ricky. I think it took her a while to kind of work a heel style rather than a babyface style.
Still maintain though, she's like could have been like an all-time babyface.
Yep, I agree.
Should have been.
Yeah, and I think they messed it up from the moment they put the title on her. where, remember, she won it the pay-per-view before WrestleMania, and it was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, I'm all for, like, big matchy moments taking place on, like, the quote-unquote smaller pay-per-views. Like, I like that. And I like what they went through a period where they were trying to put big matches on some of these smaller pay-per-views, but I'm like, how the fuck are you doing that? Like, can't you just wait an extra few weeks to do it at WrestleMania?
Bizarre. So, speaking of matches where the story dictates one outcome and you don't get it, and speaking of matches that anger me, the best, or I've saved the worst to last, I remember being so, I don't even know if distraught's the right word, just bamboozled that this went down, and especially in the way that it did. And before I go into the match, before I give you the names, you'll start to put the pieces together. It was at a WrestleMania, and it was around the time where the WrestleMania started ending up about being 16 hours long. So I'd started watching it on Monday morning, and I still had work to go to.
Finished it on Friday.
Aye. So I had, I couldn't just sit in the house in my jammies. Watching it on the train, watching it on the way to work. And as the last 5 minutes unfolded, I remember shouting at my phone, "Stop this match now, get it over," because one of them was losing far too much blood for my liking. It was WrestleMania 34, I think, and it was Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar for the Universal title. Now, the build for that, I thought it didn't sit well with some people because there was marshals involved, police marshals. When Lesnar and Roman were brawling with each other, I thought it was a much better build than their match at WrestleMania 31. And just the story going into it, maybe I just bought into it hook, line and sinker with Roman Reigns talking about Brock Lesnar being a part-timer. He's not here 300 days a year like the rest of us are. And I thought, right, this is going to be the coronation. I know Roman Reigns has been coronated before, but in terms of conquering the beast, which he wasn't able to do the first time, and the match just went on. It was just a suplex fest, an F5 fest, and it just got repetitive and boring. Thought, fuck's sake, it's going to be one of those ones where Roman Reigns just kicks out of 1,000 F5s, one spear, and it's all over. And I thought, right, just get it done. And then Lesnar takes off the elbow pads, and I thought, fuck, here we go. It was Randy Orton SummerSlam all over again. And they went through with it. And they kept... Roman Reigns was red, dark red, like postbox colour all over his face, matted in his hair, and they're still wrestling the match, and there's still F5s, and he's still kicking out, and this is at the point I thought, just end this match now, spear him and get it done with, I don't care, just give him the title. And then he doesn't kick out, and about 1,000 F5s later, Lesnar retains after a year as well. That was him a year as the Universal Champ, a very controversial reign that he had at that time, and Roman Reigns' build was all for fuck all.
If you don't mind, Dan, I'll quickly say what I want to say, and then the floor's yours. And this was the one where Meltzer told us a year in advance, I don't like him, we don't like him, etc. But he told a year in advance that this match was taking place at the following WrestleMania. So he got that right. I'm really surprised you went with this match.
Oh, I despised this match.
I don't think it was that bad. I don't think it was good. I wouldn't watch it again. I just don't think it was like just rotten. I think the decision was terrible. I think, like you said, everything it was built up to the match. You were like, right, well, they're starting to say the things that we're saying. They're starting to talk about how he's a part-time, how he's never there. Roman had that promo, I think, didn't he, when he was walking out, and I remember the bar standing there and other wrestlers all standing in his way, and he was like, really, boys, yous are going to stand here and block me off, and he's part-time, and yous are all full-time guys, and then they all kind of partied, and I was like, I quite like that wee moment. I vividly remember the moment this happened, some of the Social Suplex guys, but this was this New Orleans?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I remember the guys had a place in New Orleans, and I remember it was Josh in this video I don't know if it was like on like a Facebook Live thing. He was like, "Look, I don't even like Roman Reigns. I don't even watch WWE very often, but like they have done him dirty, and they did. That was the biggest travesty about it. Not the match and match quality. It's the fact that Brock went over. That to me was a terrible decision at the time.
It was a safety concern as well. With the gash to the head, it's like, why are you still wrestling? He's clearly losing far too much blood. Fucking finish it.
That's true. But to me, it just kind of almost added to it. Like, I felt like I don't like where it's going. In my mind, I was like, you're doing it the wrong way. Like, Roman really isn't liked. Don't have him kick out all these moves and then just suddenly hit one Superman punch and a spear and end it. Like, you don't do that. So, like, the blood, if they were ultimately, for me, it was going to be like the blood just like, I don't want to say a bonus, but it was like, look at what this guy went through to get rid of this, at the time, piece of shit Brock. Look, this is what I'd done for us. And he didn't even give us that. So, to me, like, the biggest thing was like, come on. Like, and I know at the end of the day, like, it was their own fault because, like I said, I genuinely felt like everyone felt that Roman was going to win.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people felt strongly about that, and then they didn't do it, and you're like, oh my goodness, they've still got Brock as a champ. So yeah, like, for me that was the biggest disappointment about that whole thing. But yeah, on you go, Dan.
Yeah, I've got to agree. This is a good pick, and for a lot of the same reasons as Ricky said, you could tell that the way the match was going, with the fact that Brock was beating down Roman so much that we were getting stiffed. If you're going to have Roman go over in a match like this, he needs to beat the living piss out of someone like Brock, not just pick up like a one-move scabby victory, because he looks weak. He's been absolutely decimated. But what actually pissed me off more about this was in the build-up, there was talk of Brock going back to UFC, and I'm obviously a massive MMA fan, so that kind of like piqued my interest, because as much as I disliked Brock at that time as a wrestler, as a MMA fighter, yeah, I was fully behind him. So I was there thinking, yep, he's going to have this quick match at WrestleMania. He's going to be on the next UFC pay-per-view. And there was even talks of who his opponent will be, getting an instant title shot. Dana did press conferences about how they've had productive meetings. And then we get this. And yeah, it was horrific. I've never heard a crowd get killed dead like that so quickly. It was a brutal swerve. And again, it's another swerve for the sake of swerving, because we all knew what should have happened. The wrestling media, Twitter, all wanted Roman to win. There was, even for someone like Roman, who was he didn't have a big fan base back then with wrestling Twitter, but we still wanted him to win because he was like the lesser of two evils. And yeah, and it reminded me so much of Triple H and Booker T, when the right man should have won, and we got stiffed for the sake of stiffing us.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And like, the biggest thing, and I don't even hate Brock. Like, I know we done that whole episode where it says fuck Brock Lesnar, but it really should have been fuck Vince McMahon at the time. Like, I've always said, like, Brock Lesnar as a businessman is like awesome. Like, he's just using two absolute entities against one another and just trying to get the most money possible. And at the end of the day, like, don't tell me like everybody would take Brock Lesnar's gig. You come in, do very little work, and get paid a load of money. But we were all just fed up with Brock at that point. Like, that was literally like, we were like, we can't keep watching this. And I know, as Mag says, it was like the lesser of two evils. For me, obviously, it wasn't. For a lot of the people, it was the lesser of two evils going with Roman. At least it was a full-time champ who was going to be there all the time. And that's where it was always, like I said, that to me is the biggest thing about it, is like, the entire build was based on that. You're part-time, I'm full-time, you shouldn't have that, blah, 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 you don't care. I'm here all the time. And then it's like, I'm sure they had their reasons for going with Brock, but it just felt, and it still does feel like, as Dan says, it just, we've done it for the sake of just doing it because we can do it, because we don't want to.
Yeah, weren't the reports that it got changed literally like minutes before the match. Because there was a backstage video where Brock throws the title at Vince.
That's right.
Because even Brock knew it was the wrong decision. They knew that they built Roman up to be this kind of beast slayer, and Vince. I mean, you can understand from a business sense because Brock does put people in seats. It does sell, but yeah, he should have. It was the wrong decision. It was the wrong decision. Bad booking.
It was, and like as you say, it just seems like they've done it for the sake of doing it, and it's like, and. Hey, look, everybody's clamouring for Roman. A lot of people are clamouring for Roman to come back now, and I know I'm going off on a wee bit of tangent here, but people still aren't fully behind Roman. But at the end of the day, like, fans are fucking idiots, just idiots. When you've got some of the absolute all-time greats coming out and saying stuff about Roman, you know, and like what Jericho says about it, he's like, if I could have anyone from there, it's Roman.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you hear people talking about him all the time, it's like, well, do you know what? Like, people who do it on a daily basis, they know way more than us, and they're not just saying this kind of shit. Drew McIntyre coming out, and look how long Drew's been around. He's like, I'm picking stuff up from him, and he's teaching me all these different things. And like, you saw the respect even Taker had for Roman in some of the stuff you saw with the Taker documentary. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, man, like, Roman's been hard done by both the fans, and I don't want to say bad booking, because that's not true, but he's been hard done by poor decision making at times.
Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely. So that ended up quite a talking point, that one. It's definitely if it's not the worst title match ever, then it's definitely one of the more controversial ones, I'd say. So to summarise the super duper shitdown, we had Nick Patrick versus El Hebner, Invasion 2001, Al Snow versus Big Boss Man, Kennel from Hell match, Unforgiven 99.
Oh god, there's another fucking question to get rid of.
Samoa Joe, Triple H, Kurt Angle, Braun Strowman, Finn Balor versus Bobby Roode, Randy Orton, Shane McMahon, John Cena and Nakamura. Eric Bischoff versus Teddy Long, Bret Hart versus Vince McMahon, Bayley versus Lacey Evans from this year, and the Universal title match, Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar from WrestleMania 34. Listeners, if you're still with us, which if you are, it is quite a miracle, I've got some good news for you before we do the quiz. Not only can you soon have fresh, smooth, gleaming bollocks, but you can have them while watching All Out for free. Now, let me explain what I'm meaning by that, and I'm stalling for time because I'm trying to find the right screen. First of all, let me tell you about Manscaped. Right? Manscaped have redesigned the electric trimmer. The Ventureering team have spent 18 months perfecting the greatest ball hair trimmer ever created and have just released a new and improved Lawnmower 3.0. Their third generation trimmer features a cutting edge ceramic blade to reduce manscaping accidents. Millions of balls, that should say millions of pairs of balls, really, but that's just me being pernickety, are about to be nick free thanks to Manscaped's advanced skin safe technology. Manscaping accidents are finally a thing of the past. When I say this is premium, I do mean it. The battery is going to last up to 90 minutes, so people like Viscera, Big Daddy V, has got enough time to find what's going on down there. The water-resistant technology allows you to groom in the shower. One of the coolest features is the LED light, which illuminates grooming areas for a closer and more precise trimming. They have also upgraded to a 7,000 revs per minute motor with quiet stroke technology. And let's not forget about the charging stand, ladies and gents. Let's not forget about it. Show your mower off loud and proud, because this intelligently designed stand is convenient charging dock powered by USB. So I want you to try this as well, because I've had it and it's good fun. Trim that junk of yours. If you go to manscaped.com and if you put in Suplex in the promo code, you will get 20% off plus free shipping. But for a limited time, there is an added caveat. If you do that soon, and if you email socialsuplex@gmail.com with proof of purchase, like a screenshot of your purchase order, if you do that soon, the first 5 people to do so are going to get a free... you can watch All Out, courtesy of Social Suplex. We will pay for your subscription to I'm guessing Fight TV for All Out, which is on September the 5th. Am I right in saying that?
I think so.
September the 5th. So buy yourself some Manscaped lawnmower and send us the proof that you bought it, and you can get All Out for free. That's it. I've done the plug. Ricky, are you going to give us some quiz? What's left of it anyway?
All 4 questions.
It's fucking quiz time with Ricky and Clive and friends. A fucking WWE quiz.
So
Very, very little left of it.
Darren's got a point. Let's get that off the board.
Right, so I'm down to 5 questions.
Right, okay.
Right, so before we start, buzzers, Dan, you want to give us your buzzer?
Let's go with Adam Cole, baby.
Clive?
Oh, it's true. It's damn true.
Right, here we go. Question number 1. At which event did the now infamous Pat Patterson versus Jerry Briscoe match take place? That was the hardcore evening gown dress match.
I thought about using this one as well.
I researched this a couple of months ago as well, and I can't even remember.
Oh, it's true. It's damn true.
Yep.
So this was to do with the whole hardcore title stuff. Was that SummerSlam 2000?
You got the year right, but the event incorrect.
That was Shane McMahon and Steve Blackman at SummerSlam, wasn't it?
So, Adam Cole, baby.
Yep.
I'll go with Survivor Series 2000 then.
Both incorrect. Would you like a clue or a hint or anything?
I think I've got the answer. Oh, it's true. It's damn true.
Okay.
King of the Ring 2000.
Correct.
And Taz came down, didn't he? Or was it Raven?
Taz. I don't think it was Taz.
Probably Raven. He was always floating about then.
Question number 2. From NXT back in 2010.
Oh, fuck's sake.
Do you remember the match? Caitlyn versus Maxine?
I remember it when I was researching worst matches ever the last couple of days, but that's
Who
all.
were the two women?
My God.
Who were the 2 women in the corner of the match?
Right, so I'm guessing these were mentors. If we're talking 2010. Oh, it's 2. It's damn true.
Yep.
Was it Beth Phoenix and Natalia?
Oh. Wait. Oh, sorry, the mentors. Sorry. Yeah, no, it wasn't. It wasn't. Was it 2010? No, it might have been not. Sorry, it might not have been 2010. Let me double check. I thought it was 2010. No. Yeah, it was.
I think I know one.
Yep.
If I can go for half a point. So Adam Cole, baby, was one of them Vicky Guerrero?
Correct.
Fuck.
I can't for the life of me picture the second one though.
Right, I'll give you a clue.
Mm-hmm.
The second one, she likes her drink.
Oh,
Adam Cole, baby.
Yep.
Alicia Fox.
Yes.
Oh, I bet Arn Anderson hates her.
she can't walk in a straight line.
Right. Jerry Lawler versus Michael Cole took place at what WrestleMania?
I looked at this today as well. Michael Cole had on a fucking singlet and a helmet.
Yeah, did he have a group called the Cole Manners as well, something like that?
Oh my god!
Oh no, that was his plastic. He had a plastic cage, didn't he, to protect him from Jerry?
The pod thing or whatever
Yeah.
it was.
Oh,
Heel Michael Cole was just a bad idea.
Adam Cole, baby.
Yep.
27. WrestleMania 27.
That is correct.
That was just pulled clean out of my arse.
Clean out of your arse, that's impressive.
Clean. Manscaped. 20% off if you use the code Social Suplex.
Excellent.
Question number 4. Clive, you better get this. You better get this. The amount of times we have joked about this. Paul Bearer was buried in cement at which pay-per-view?
It's the year that I don't know.
I mean, I don't need the year, I just need the event.
Right.
Pay-per-view.
Oh, it's true, it's damn true.
Yep.
The Great American Bash.
Correct. Hey, hold on, let me see.
04, that was 2004.
Right, so it comes down to this final question because... Let me see, Clive, give you the first question. Can you ring?
Did you add on Darren's point at the start?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. 2, 1. Oh, no. Darren's got it because of that first question. But anyway, here we go. Question number 5. The women's title match at Backlash 2018 was between who?
2018. No, that's wrong.
Bear in mind, this was the Samoa Joe Roman Reigns match.
Oh, it's true, it's damn true.
Yep.
Was it Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss?
Correct. The whole bullying storyline, the thing they had going on.
Mm-hmm.
Well played.
So that means it was 4-3 to Darren.
Darren, is that the first quiz you've won?
First ever in history.
And ever, even, maybe definitely podcasting history. So you've got that trophy to bear. Congratulations.
Well, it makes up for getting stiffed out of the T-shirt.
Oh. I don't know why, but I'm blaming you for this, Ricky.
Why?
Ricky put me higher on his card, so it's technically your fault, Clive. But
Ricky did what, sorry?
he put me higher on his picks. He had me at second.
So did I.
You said you had me third.
No, you were in the top 3, but I'm pretty sure it was 2...
So I wouldn't have won anyway then, because you both must have had Josh's first then.
I'll let you in on a secret. I didn't have Josh in mine at all.
You're fucking kidding.
I am not kidding.
Josh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for my co-host.
Listen,
I apologise for his appalling behaviour.
I've kept a lid on. I've kept a hat on this for a few weeks now, but your Takeover Portland match, tag titles match, it's all right, but there's far better ones. And
you're the only one that seems to think that Portland match featured a lot.
Aye, but the ones that Mags picked were better. The tag title match. I had to compare and contrast each match. It got to that level.
Just listen, send me the T-shirt, get it over and done with.
But
Josh.
No, me and Josh are sharing it. We're going to ship it to each other every other week so we can wear it.
Or what was that film with Matt Damon and Owen Wilson when they were conjoined twins?
Wilson.
There was a film where Matt Damon was a Siamese twin with someone.
Stuck With You or something like that?
Aye, you could do that with Josh. You wouldn't mind that because
Stuck on You.
You would like to be stuck on him the amount of times you've been giving him the rub the last few weeks.
What can I say? The guy.
You give him the rub like Luke gave Ray Rougeau the rub.
Appreciates.
You've been Ray Rougeau'd.
Similar taste.
I know I'm not going to say that joke on there. Right, let's move on.
I'm expecting a phone call from Josh in the next couple of days to say thank you for this.
Aye, thank you. Here's my PayPal account. What's your PayPal number? Darren, would you like to plug your stuff?
Well, this might take 10 minutes, but you can follow me on Twitter at DAJ Kirkby. I have currently 4 now, I think. I'm involved with 4 podcasts. 5 Rounds, which is about UFC, Badlands, which is about the Mount Rushmores of wrestling, and While We Watch, which is talking to content creators about why they love watching people in their underwear pretending to fart, or in case of these cards, pretending to not even fart. I'm also involved with another one called Talk at the Table, where every fortnight we just, me, Matt and Conrad and a guest gather around and bitch about what's happened in wrestling over the fortnight. So, yeah, come and check me out. You can find them wherever you get your podcasts.
Please do, listeners. He's a regular voice in my ear over the course of a week, and he likes to kid on that it's a bad thing, but it's a good thing. He's a good talker, and he talks some good shit as well.
Emphasis on the shit.
So this has been the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show, part of the Social Suplex Podcast Network, where you will get other shows such as One Nation Radio, Keeping It Strong Style, Grown Men Watch This Shit when it comes back, Get in the Ring, which is going under a sort of different format. We'll hear about that soon. All Things Elite, and new to the network, 8-Bit Suplex Podcast. Make sure to give us 5-star review on the podcast app of your choice. Get us up the charts. You can get, as far as I'm aware, it's actually down tonight and recording, but socialsuplex.com should be up and running soon, and you can get the podcasts and the columns that we do on that website. If you press subscribe, you can get them sent directly to your email inbox. If you're looking for this is a trigger word now, but if you're looking for a T-shirt, sorry Darren, you can go to prowrestlingtees.net, go to the Social Suplex page and get some of our T-shirts there. Go to manscaped.com, put in this promo code SUPLEX for 20% off and free shipping of the Lawnmower 3.0. If you do it soon and prove it to us, you can get to watch All Out for free. And we are in the Wrestling Square Circle Facebook group, as well as at Ricky and Clive on Twitter. Ricky, anything you want to say before we go?
No, not at all. Just thanks for downloading and listening. Thanks to Dan. Good catching up with him again. Hopefully next time it's not going to be as long.
Because he can't deal with me for 2 hours.
No, I meant the gap between the podcast appearances.
You walked into that one, Ricky. And yes, thank you very much for coming on. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I think this might be the first time it's 3 of us have been on for maybe a year.
Yeah, mental.
But
yeah, it's always a good time coming on. Yeah. More than willing to make time for my Scottish brethren. And
well, I don't know if it's up to you directly, but I'd like to have a wee chat with you about Talk at the Table at some point in the near future as well.
It is up to me. I'm the boss. I mean, Booker.
Are you?
Allegedly. I got forced the job onto me. So, yeah.
Is Matt a delegator?
No, it's sort of like that. Tosser. Matt Willis is a tosser.
Pass it on.
At the Matt Attack UK. Go follow him.
We need to get Tolly on as well.
Oh, yes.
Talk about food.
Jesus, the worst food.
The worst 3-course meal ever. and appetizers and stuff like that. Right, thanks Darren for coming on, thanks Ricky for joining me, and thanks listeners if you're still with us for listening to the very end. We'll speak to you next week for more shite wrestling. Good night.
Take care, folks.
Thank you for listening to the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Podcast. We'll see you next time.